Hey peeps, welcome back to another episode of 3 for Thursday, where I share 3 things about something on Thursday, and I'm your host, Gladys, from Heart Take the Wheel, your brand and business photographer. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you 3 things to consider, to keep in mind when selecting your outfit for your headshot or portrait session. So I hope that these will be really helpful for you as you are preparing for that session, and I'm super excited to kind of dive into it. Real quick, a couple things. One, I'm wearing new glasses because my other favorite pair is undergoing super glue surgery right now. And 2, I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe if you aren't already, because it really helps me out. So let's dive in to today's episode. Okay, so our number 1 tip that I have for you when selecting an outfit for your headshot session is to consider your neckline. Now, when you're in a headshot, whether it be a horizontal or a portrait orientation, if it's a traditional framing, this is pretty much the zone we have to work with, which means there's not a lot going on. You don't have your entire outfit to help you. You have this, and what's really strong, prominent in this area is your neckline. So a neckline can convey sophistication, it can convey openness, or it can convey power, it just can, necklines can have a different tone, and it also does other things. More versus less skin showing is something that not only adds into what I was talking about before, about the message it conveys, but it also adds to how quickly we see your face. And I know we see your face within instants, right? But that instance actually takes a little bit longer if we have more skin that is visible, because we're scanning the skin. We're looking and we immediately go to the face, but a little quicker if it's the only skin or the most of the skin is showing on our face. If we have a lot of skin showing on our chest area and in other areas of our body that may be showing, like our arms and shoulders, etc., then we will kind of scan the image a little bit longer. Even if it's just a couple milliseconds longer, it's how fast we interpret that data, and we will see your face maybe a little bit slower. I know that may not seem like a big deal, but if you want your headshot to be like, boom, face, then more skin showing versus less skin showing might matter to you. But if that's a secondary concern of yours, then maybe you just are focused on the message you are conveying. Are you conveying, I am a strong, powerful, figure? Are you conveying, I know my stuff, but I'm open to hearing what you have to say? Are you conveying friendliness, or aggression a little bit? Or maybe just there's so much that you can convey just through your neckline. So it's kind of interesting. And of course, posturing, poses go into that. As you saw, I took different poses just by saying those words. That's a whole nother video, I'm sure, but let's go and talk through a couple different necklines. This is obviously a turtleneck, so it's definitely just about the face. But it's also not like a starchy turtleneck, if that makes sense. It's got some casualness to it, so that's what I kind of like about that. Another one that's not quite as closed off as the turtleneck would just be a high neck here. So this is a high neck still. It's still covering up quite a lot, and while still kind of being a little more open than a turtleneck would be. Moving on to this one, we are starting to get a little bit of that V, but it's a very modest V, I would say. It also has this mock kind of collar. Now the mock collar I have found to be just a little bit more friendly, a little more casual while still meaning business. It also seems for women to feel a little more feminine than a traditional collar shirt would. Now here we have a traditional collar, and we have the button up, so you can get real professional and modest if you find necessary, but it's also casual at the same time because it's got the open shoulders. So you have a little bit of play there where it's, business here, but a little more casual here. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition there that I find to be flattering. I like this top because it's not all like a, super button up kind of starchy blouse. Now here we have the deeper V. This is a much deeper V, and depending on your body type and what the photo is for, what you're trying to convey, that may be something that you would like to consider. It can definitely feel more feminine. It's also flattering for your neck line, as far as like you're elongating your neck and kind of thinning out this area, but it is still also showing a lot of skin, so you have to kind of pick and choose what you want to kind of highlight in your photos. But see, it's also covering up the arms. It's a 3/4 sleeve, and so you're showing a lot of skin here, but you're taking away from here, which is kind of like how the trade-off is going with this shirt versus with this one. If possible, I would highly recommend that you provide yourself with different options for your session. Traditionally, headshots can give you anywhere from 1 to 3 to many photos in return. 3 seems to be the average, the standard. And if that's the case, then that means you've got 3 opportunities to convey 3 different messages with your choice of outfit. And so necklines can help you there with choosing something more sophisticated and more professional oriented, and then you can also change it up for a more open and friendly casual kind of look for social media. So think about your different options, not just all running in there and trying to get that professional look only, because then what are you going to do with all of the other shots? You don't want all 3 to be conveying the same message. You want to really take advantage of those photos and convey different aspects of how you could possibly use them. The second tip I would like you to keep in mind when selecting an outfit for your headshot session would be the sleeves. Whether they be sleeveless or cap or regular sleeves, 3/4, whatever it may be, that can change the whole vibe. That can change a few things. So, like I mentioned before, the skin showing. So if we have some positions, even when, even if you're just kind of here and your hands aren't even in the frame, your shoulder is. And our shoulder is a lot of skin, just like our chest would be, and so if that is completely bare, it's also going to be another one of those things we're scanning before we see your face. If that matters not to you, then that's fine, but just consider it. If you have broad shoulders versus narrow shoulders, you might want to show more or less of your shoulders, so consider that. Anytime we bring in our arms or kind of are playing around with this, different positionings that you may be put into, you might want to consider do sleeves matter to you? So I don't know, it's something that you might want to consider. I personally love 3/4 sleeve, and I also love a good sleeveless if it's done right. So for example, the sleeveless here works really well. I think it's the fabric helps it to kind of sit nicely, and it's that nice juxtaposition of professional yet still showing some skin. So there's that. I really love that, and I also really love the sleeve on this here, which is kind of like a 3/4 sleeve almost. Maybe it's like a half. I don't know. It's just a little bit of a sleeve that is quite slimming and flattering for my body type. And then we have this here, which is a traditional sleeve that also looks really good. So it just depends on your own taste and on what you're trying to convey. So this is showing I am in business, I am feminine, and maybe it's a little flirty, but it's a really cool look, this one here. So it does, I think that sheerness shows femininity. So it depends on what you're trying to convey. It really does. And then, like I mentioned before, this one has that 3/4 sleeve, and the neckline is a deep V, so there's that. I love this one. It's slimming, it looks good, and it's easy to pose with, so that's another thing to consider. The third and final thing I'd like you to consider when selecting an outfit for your headshot session would be the motion and fit of your outfit. Now, a lot of us might not think about the motion at all, especially if we're just going for a traditional headshot. Our whole outfit is not really playing a part, but it might, depending on if maybe the positioning that you end up in is, one where you kind of are sitting, and then, aspects of some of your other outfit might show up, etc. But Even if this is the only framing you're going to have in your photo, having some motion involved, if that's something that you're into, if maybe you're trying to convey something more playful and open and friendly, it might be fun, because if you have like a skirt to play with, then you can kind of twirl it and get that shot there. And if you're just going through it, I mean, if you're, used to it, or if your photographer can help you with that, or if you're a model, then that's fine. But having an actual outfit to play with and work with might also render better shots, because it's a little more genuine than faking it with, like I am right now. Also, motion, like having something to do, like maybe you have pockets, that might be a motion that you can get into versus faking it like I am right now. So motion is something that you might want to consider in the afterthought of things, just depending on what you're trying to convey with these photos. And then the fit is important. A lot of us sometimes try and hide in comfortable clothing, and whether we're hiding or we're just trying to be comfortable, have bigger kind of clothing that's a little baggy, it's not always the best looking on camera. So if you have the option to have variation, maybe having something that's a little baggier, like what I'm wearing right now, or this is a shirt of mine that some of you are probably familiar with, it's a baggy shirt. So having this in junction with something more fitting like this would be a way for me to have variation in fit and style and necklines, etc. So something else to consider definitely is the fit. And then the more slim fitting it is onto your body, more fitting it is to your body, the more variation you have and ability you have to position yourself in different poses, because it's a little easier to see the difference that small movements make versus when your clothes are baggy. So making sure that at least one of your selections is form-fitting will give both of us, the photographer and yourself, more ability to position yourself in different poses and scenes and etc. Versus having baggy clothing, which sometimes doesn't convey the pose quite as well as form-fitting clothes. So that form-fitting clothes stuff really does make a big difference in camera. So having both options, if you'd like, if you have a shirt, or if you're just more comfortable in something like this, then bringing that along with something that's also form-fitting so that you have the selection later. That is, those are my 3 tips for helping you select a outfit for your headshot session. I hope that these were helpful for you. I have many more tips on this subject. I have a whole video I can talk on color and pattern and it's, fabrics as well. I didn't add that in here, if you noticed. Color is a big deal. It really is a big deal, but it's a big enough deal that I didn't think it being just one of these 3 little things was where it belonged. I think it needs its own video on 3 things to consider when choosing the color of your outfit. I really think that would be a good video to do all on its own, because color is a bigger deal than just adding it alongside one of these. Neckline was a big one, but I think it was, I think I fit it in here just fine. So neckline, to sum it up, we've got the neckline, we have the sleeves to consider, and then we have the motion and fit of your outfit. So I hope those things were helpful. I will see you in the next video. Subscribe if you aren't already, and happy Thursday. It's Thirsty Thursday, right? So we get to go drink.